Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh! Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
He picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
2 claps and a Ric Flair. Woo! Welcome into this Tuesday edition of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I am Sterling Holmes, joined by Josh Brisco. You can follow him on the X at JB Brisco. Myself at Homestretch KC. Not a ton necessarily to break it down. I do want to talk about the landscape of the AFC after the massive trade that went down between the Dolphins and the Steelers. Some other minor moves that transpired in the NFL, and if there's any repercussions in regards to what that means for KC. But I also want to start off by saying our appreciation and love of KC Wolf, of Dan, of his commitment to the Chiefs and the community, of everything he went through, of all the obstacles he overcame to be one of the best, if not the greatest mascot in North American sports history. I will always have a soft spot for KC Wolf. Hell, he was at my rehearsal dinner. Great surprise by my wife getting good old KC Wolf there. Even had Eagles fans thrilled about KC Wolf. Glad he was able to make it before his long-deserved and earned retirement. Him and Tyer retiring. What's that? Just long-term KC staples. Must be that time, 2025, when retirement hits for them. But yeah, I want to maybe talk briefly on KC Wolf as well. But Brisco, how you doing?
I'm excellent. I don't know if I'm doing as well as Dan, or certainly not as well as Adam Teicher, but you said it well. 2 absolute icons in their own right who did their jobs for a very long time at a very high level, and both of them getting to hopefully not just ride off into the sunset, but get to enjoy the sunset a little bit. I am very, very happy for both of them. I don't know Dan personally. I know KC Wolf personally, it feels like. Teicher, of course, is an absolute walking legend, and I'm really, truly very happy for both of them to hopefully enjoy some long, slow days without deadlines or ziplining off of a stadium. And I won't tell you who did who more often, but I don't think Teicher's going skydiving. I don't think he's going to write any gamers. I think they're both going to hopefully enjoy some time in the mountains or wherever Dan goes. I think Teicher's literally going to the mountains.
Correct. He's going to Colorado. Talk with him today. His final day as a guest on 810. Maybe he'll stop by a time or two later. But yeah, final real spot with him. It was great having him on. We did a whole montage of all the times he said, okay. Anytime he had a follow-up, he would always just go, okay. And he goes, that's his BS meter. That's how we knew if he like didn't believe what Andy was telling him or the answer he received, how he would enunciate and say okay was how we knew okay or okay. That's how we knew he might not believe you. And I always liked that about Teicher. So 32 years, obviously at ESPN, a long time KC star. Prior to that, he is going to Colorado. I thought he should have done the Jared Allen, get on a horse and ride west. Of course, Jared Allen did it on a cloudy day. Would have been great to see Teicher do that. But yeah, no more Teicher. And it's going to be sad. I've really enjoyed getting to know Adam Teicher personally, and it was always cool reading all of his work as a kid. I never told him this. I probably wish I could tell him this now, and I'm sure I will at some point. He offered to have me out to go golf with him in Colorado, and I'm like, yeah, Teicher, I will be there.
Man, no kidding.
But I was laughing because growing up as a kid, I was like, man, this guy, does he even like the Chiefs? Chiefs hater? Like when you're in high school, you're like, come on, Teicher, give some love to KC.
Covering a team that's about to win 7 games at best.
At best, those teams won 7 games. Like, okay, so he was right. He was right. They were not as good as I thought they were going to be. And then 2, also, you get older, and especially if you're kind of in this business, you start realizing, well, not everything's going to go perfectly.
That's right.
Sorry, my Richie James take didn't pan out the way I thought it was going to, but you're going to be wrong sometimes. So, yeah, just shout out to Tyer for always being true to his convictions as well, and not always being a homer, which I do always appreciate about him. He was always well thought out in all of his reasoning, as well as Casey Wolf, always well thought out in his reasoning of why the hips moved the way they did.
I'll say this. No offense to Casey Wolf, but Adam Tyer is more well-spoken.
Question for you.
Oh, yeah?
Because it sounded like they're retiring Casey Wolf.
Oh, that might be true. That was not what I understood.
What was your understanding? Because I had heard rumors of that.
Oh, that would be crazy. Maybe I just kind of assumed, and again, I have not done any digging on this whatsoever. I assumed it was sort of a Doctor Who, James Bond kind of thing, where it's like, okay, like you have the lead actor, they go through either regeneration on the Doctor Who side, or you just have a new James Bond for the next one. I just sort of not to spoil any magic for any little ones listening, but I sort of assumed that the state of Casey Wolf, that the estate of Casey Wolf perhaps would continue on in perpetuity, just as, you know, Daniel Craig wasn't going to be James Bond forever, which is a weird one for me to pick because that's the recent one, but that was when I was, you know, real little.
You know, that's what I thought. It's like you just put someone else, but I've heard rumblings, and it might not be true at all. It might be completely unfounded that it might just be retiring the suit, the entire thing.
Can't hang that in the rafters. That would be extremely macabre. It'd be like, and so up here you have all these jerseys, and is that a wolf hanging from the? So Nat
said that. My wife literally goes, they should hang the wolf from the rafters. Like next to the jerseys, next to the jerseys and like in like the banners. And I was like, I don't know, babe. That seems like a bad idea. And she's like, well, I guess the hard part is what is he wearing? Like, is it the Hawaiian outfit? Like, what outfit is he going to be? What outfit do you hang the wolf in? And I'm like, well, if that's your thought process, then okay.
Well, listen, I will say then, if it is the end of Casey Wolf altogether, is there a mascot redesign coming? Do we get to vote on the future maybe? Because, you know, obviously, like when teams go through rebrands and stuff, sometimes they'll do like a fan poll, what do you want, whatever. But as much love and admiration and respect as I have for the entity of Casey Wolf, I believe entity is what I was looking for earlier when I couldn't think of a word. I would be interested in sort of a more gritty adjacent mascot for the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe
you want gritty as in Philly, as in the team that just beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You ass. No,
he's
Brisco.
The hockey mascot, so I'm okay. You worked for the Sixers. You want me to be like, reminder, you know, Sterling Holmes worked in Philadelphia 15 years before the Eagles beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Might have been 10.
5, 6.
Do the math. Are you sure?
Probably 6.
It's longer than time flies, baby.
When was the last time that? Well, 7 maybe. Because the Eagles won in 2018.
No, I'm saying the one that just happened.
No, I know, but the Eagles won in 2018 originally, right?
Oh, I see. Probably yeah.
And I was there for that. That was like my first one of my. Okay. Yeah, it was my second year there. So yeah, I think it's been 6-7 years. Yeah. All right. And I did also operate a mechanical bull with Gritty, the mascot of the Flyers, on it. I did twerk him on said mechanical bull.
That rules. I'm jealous. Did you ever watch the show Lost when it was coming out? You familiar? Huge show.
No, I'm lost though.
Okay. You understand the concept generally?
Yes.
They're lost on an island.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of mystery. At some point, there is a famous, spoiler for this 20-year-old TV show. I think I know, I at least have a nomination for if the Chiefs do need to bring in a new original mascot to step in for Casey Wolf. Lost had something called the Smoke Monster. And when you think Arrowhead, you think of the tailgating in the parking lot. I've never liked the idea of like the gray, smoky uniform alternate for the Chiefs. I don't want a gray uniform on this football team. But You tell me the Chiefs' new mascot is a cloud of smoke with a couple of eyes on it, like the big red Looney Tunes character whose name escapes me. I can get behind that a little bit. I kind of like the KC Smoke Monster. I'm open if KC Wolf is in fact retiring along with Dan, which is a report that I am not corroborating right now. I'm just thinking about the future.
I would totally be the Smoke Monster.
I already
Sit me out there with some Marlboro Reds, and I'll smoke in a lawn chair with a Busch Light in one hand, a KC beer, just hang out there, and I'll be your Smoke Monster.
As long as the stadium doesn't move to Kansas, it doesn't have to be Marlboros. I don't think. I'm not exactly sure what the rules in the parking lot are, but
yeah, I'm not a marijuana guy. I'm not a fan of the reefer as much, so I'll have to take your word
maybe that's
for that
what we
one.
name him. Maybe we name him Reefer.
Ooh.
I'm just saying.
The KC Reefer.
KC Reefer. That's probably.
Or the
I bet
Reaper.
that URL's taken. I bet that is a smoke shop already.
The Grim Reaper. Just Patrick
The
Mahomes.
Grim
in the fourth
Reaper.
quarter.
The Grim Reaper is the new mascot. He can, with or without KC Wolf. KC Wolf could have a sidekick. KU's got Baby J or whatever. Give me KC Reefer unofficially. The Grim Reaper.
I will be your mascot. If the Chiefs say, hey, Sterling, we need a new mascot. We have the technology, but we don't want to spend a lot of money. So we're going to choose you.
Yeah.
I will give it my all. I feel like I would be a pretty good mascot besides the fact I don't like heights. That's going to be a big, but I like zip lining. So if it's fast enough, I can't just like slowly go down. If I slowly move down said height, I would struggle. But if I'm like zipping down that bad boy, I think I could be your mascot.
You ever been a mascot before? You ever been not just like a Halloween costume, but fully enclosed?
One day, Kansas City Mavericks hockey team, their mascot when I was an intern in college freshman year, didn't show up for the day that they needed the mascot to make all the videos for the season.
Oh, no.
So
that's a big day for the mascot.
KC Mavs game in like 2013, when it was like, whenever that song, When I Met You in the Summer, by like Calvin Harris.
Met you in the summer.
Yeah, I remember that was the music video for it. And it's a video of me like in a pool in this mascot thing, just sweating my ass off on a inner tube. Well, I'm on an inner tube trying not to get this thing wet. It's already moist in there. And then there's like, all right, so get out of that. Getting out of the pool off of an inner tube when you're in that is diabolical.
No kidding.
A lot of ab strength. Luckily, I was 20, or no, I wasn't even that. I was probably 18. I was like 135 pounds probably. And then I'm playing volleyball in a mascot suit. It's 98 degrees outside.
I met you in the summer.
That song is still blasting. And I'm trying to like, no, you got to spike it. I'm like, I can't jump in this thing. This thing is heavy as hell.
Spike it. The costume's 8 feet tall. I'm not. Yeah.
So yes, to answer your question, I was a mascot one time. Literally one time.
I got a few reps as the Chick-fil-A cow back in the day. So you and I have more mascot.
You being homeschooled too, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that really tracks.
You do know why, and it does. You're 100% right. I used to say that I was the Holy Trinity. I was a homeschooled pastor's kid who worked at Chick-fil-A. Some things have changed since then for me personally, but you know, those were the roots at the time. So I feel like you and I mean, clearly among like Chiefs podcasts right now, there cannot be a lot of people doing shows with more mascot experience than we have. We don't have a ton, but compared to everybody else I can think of right now, I don't know a lot of other former fill-in mascots currently in the industry right now.
Chiefs, hire us.
We would do such a fun bit, both of us. Like we could, I mean, think about how cut loose we could be as foils for each other in KC Wolf and the Grim Reaper costumes, respectively.
Hey, Daddy, why does the mascot smell like beef, cheese, and beer?
well, son, that one's Sterling. That one's Sterling Holmes from Arrowhead Addict.
All right. Let's get into the NFL landscape.
Why is the other one coughing so much?
He smells like a skunk, Dad.
Why maybe it's a skunk. Maybe it's not like, no, the smoke monster still needs to happen. Why does it smell like a skunk?
All right. Well, we got, okay, mark that off the list. The alcoholic, drug addicted mascots that Brisco and I could play. Yeah.
Yeah,
Chiefs, if you're
mascots that we could pretend to be.
All right. Big trade in the NFL.
Yeah.
Steelers, Dolphins. Surprise. You don't really see a player for player that much. Jonnu Smith and Jaylen Ramsey heading to the Steelers. Ramsey getting a new contract. Minkah Fitzpatrick going back to the Dolphins. A little bit of a pick swap as well. Nothing major.
Aaron Waller back out of retirement too. He stopped making divorce music videos and said, I want to play in Miami.
Yeah, sometimes these players who are athletes think that, hey, well, I'm good at a sport. I'm probably a good rapper too, and I'm assuming that means
that track too.
Yeah, I'm assuming that career didn't quite take off the way he thought. I'm probably thinking the same way that Kadarius Toney's SoundCloud probably isn't gonna.
Better music, I think.
Yeah. All right. The Steelers trade, though, was massive. This is a slight, in my opinion, slight change of the landscape of the AFC because I think the Steelers did get better. This proves to me they're going all in. I find it a little interesting because they already have Joey Porter Jr. They already have Darius Slay, who they brought in. Now Jaylen Ramsey. There's been a little bit of talk about maybe one of those guys moves to safety. Maybe it even is Jaylen Ramsey. I don't know if you would for the amount of money that he's receiving.
Right.
Maybe they go out and try and sign Justin Simmons. They already have Elliott, but former Chief Juan Thornhill already there as well. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm not mentioning, well, three cornerbacks, nickel. Beanie Bishop is their nickel corner. He thrived in that role last year I think he was a rookie last year. Really solid. So I assumed that he was going to stay in that spot because that's all he does. Very small guy. But Jonnu Smith as well. We know Aaron Rodgers and his affinity for tight ends, especially in the red zone. I thought it was interesting. They already had Pat Freiermuth. They had Darnell Washington, the huge fella from Georgia a couple of years ago. So on paper, you're like, they're just doubling down at corner and tight end if that's really what they need. But I can't blame them for going all in when you have Rodgers for maybe 2 years at the absolute most.
Yeah, and I might even slightly push back on the idea that they're going all in, but I don't think it's bad that I might nitpick at it a little bit. Somebody said that the Ramsey Fitzpatrick trade was the trade that you make when you get bored in franchise mode. And that is kind of what it feels like, right? Like, especially with well, maybe Ramsey moves to safety and starts that now. It's like, okay, so the trade you made then was just swapping safeties, a guy who's done it at a high level. And I think admittedly, I probably have Minkah Fitzpatrick of 2 or 3 years ago as the guy in my brain of thinking, oh man, well, I was stunned to see him be the guy going back to Miami in the deal originally, because the way it was reported was also fascinating, because Jaylen Ramsey himself posted a whole thing about going to Pittsburgh. It's like, all right, Jaylen Ramsey going to Pittsburgh. Here's the news. And then 15 minutes go by, which is an eternity in NFL news breaking time. 15 minutes go by, and they go, okay, so the trade deal here is Jaylen Ramsey for Minkah Fitzpatrick straight up. Huh. Okay. So to me, it's less. So I saw I saw the Ramsey trade, and I thought, okay, well, maybe Miami's moving away from that money, and Pittsburgh is going more all in because they think they probably only have the 1 year with Rodgers. Maybe they get a second, but it sounds like one's the leader. So let's really make it happen for this year. Okay, maybe they're sending a future 4th or 5th round pick, right? I mean, it depends on what the league was valuing Ramsey at, but he's an older player on a huge contract, so that would make sense. Seeing it be a legitimate member of their defense, and also now having another kind of round of now maybe more teams are calling about TJ Watt again. It's all sort of strange. I can't be terribly critical of it. I don't think it's the most foolish moves of the offseason all happened from Pittsburgh. They have a very narrow window to truly contend, and that window, the only part of it that I know is mandatory is they get very good play out of Aaron Rodgers, and for the whole season. I mean, that continues into the playoffs. I'm getting ahead of I think, but the landscape of the AFC stuff, I'm not going to really entertain a team who doesn't have a quarterback with a at least hot stretch in the playoffs type of ceiling. And I might lower that level down to like a Geno Smith type. Not for the Raiders in particular, but like I think Geno Smith could have 3 great games in the playoffs and just black out Eli Manning style rookie contract Joe Flacco. Go, man, you know what? This guy can make some of those plus throws. He just can't make any mistakes for 3 or 4 games, and that's a very hard thing to do. Rodgers is meeting that standard at least several years ago. I don't think it was dumb for them to sign Rodgers. I don't think this trade was a bad idea, but I'm not betting on Pittsburgh. I'm not betting on Miami for that matter either. So I find it fascinating and kind of fun and a great late June, early July kind of topic and switcheroo. But I'm certainly not now at a point where it's like, oh man, well, the Steelers now, not only are they contending in the AFC, I'm not ready to say that they're anything other than the 3rd best team in their division still.
Yeah, but the 3rd best team in their division still might be making the playoffs.
Sure, absolutely. I think they have to push for it. I just don't love it.
Yeah, I guess where I came from was, if I'm a fan, would I be excited? And I think the answer would be yes. As they sit, do I think this makes them better overall? Because again, they also got Jonnu Smith. Even if you're doubling down at tripling down at corner and tight end, I still think the answer is yes. So for that reason, I'm like, then I would probably make that move. Mm-hmm. And you'll figure it out later. It is funny with Minka Fitzpatrick going back to Miami, where he wanted out originally after only a couple years there.
Yeah.
It sounded like a lot of that originally was Brian Flores. It sounded like there was a lot of, the whole team. I'm sure it'll be much better with Josh McDaniels. I'm sure that guy is going to get along great with everyone. Who he had trouble with apparently last year when it came to even finding players that no one listens to him. So that's always good, right? Seems like a good culture going on down there in Miami.
Mike McDaniel?
Yeah, Mike. Did I say Josh?
You said Josh McDaniels, and I was genuinely sitting here trying to remember where Josh McDaniels ended up. Is he back in New England?
I have no idea.
I think he might be back in New England with Vrabel now.
One just dresses better. That's the difference. And no,
one of them seems like an infinitely better hang.
Yeah, actually, I take that back. They both dress. I don't know how Josh dresses, but Mike he dresses like he's Miami. It's not good, but he at least is into it. So I'll give him that. Yeah. He at least goes all in. I'll give him that. Like, he at least goes all in on that. I think it looks very silly, especially for a head coach, but I'll at least say he's not backing down from that. So I can at least slightly respect that. A couple comments to get to. Cole says, hey, Cole. Joshua said when I first read the release, it felt like Casey Wolf was Dan's and the entire thing might be retiring, or maybe it originally was and the Chiefs bought it. Yeah, I got to do a little bit more because that's how I read it as at first as well, that it was like, that's Dan's thing and they're retiring the entire thing. That's how I also originally read that. Also, Sterling's the key to Super Bowls. Yeah, apparently. I moved to Philly, they win one. I moved back to KC, they win one. Brought this up to Travis and Jason Kelsey a couple weeks ago, and they laughed and loved it. And then all of a sudden, Travis goes, well, you were here last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, good call, Trav. Yeah, sorry about that one.
By him.
Gerald's like, yeah, well, you were here last year, man. I'm like, yeah, you got me. Got me in a technicality. Kills, Brisco, here's a compliment. Says, you're a brilliant dude, but your energy makes so much more sense now. The Holy Trinity.
That happens a lot. It's
a good one.
It's one of the reasons I don't lead with that a lot, because I feel like it really does sometimes. Like, people kind of start to hear me wherever they hear me, and then eventually the truth makes it out of the Holy Trinity and everything else that follows. And the crazy thing is now I've been in the water for so long. I don't know what temperature it is. I don't know necessarily why that explains my energy, but somebody says that every time, and I'm cool with it. I enjoy my own energy at this point. I just, I acknowledge where it came from. I also have a comment here, not on the YouTube chat, but a text from my wife, Renee, who said that she was an off-brand mascot for years. Something else to keep in mind if we need to add to the, I think it was at a circus.
Oh, okay. I'm like an off-brand mascot. She's like go to games like the Green Man. Like what are you?
She was Tony the Liger. I don't know. Toni.
It was the Italian version.
Yeah, perfect.
Balloon Raccoon, Sterling, you've been at the beach looking sun-kissed. Actually, Brisco was the one at the beach. I was just the one that got burnt at the Royals game. Saturday's game.
That sucks.
Great game. Sunday's game. Not a great game. Did I go to both games? Yes, I did.
Well, I'm
Hey,
still on the
1-1.
Chiefs timeline now. I needed to know if this Casey Wolf thing is happening now. I'm stressed.
Well, that's on you, dog.
Oh, I know. I just wasn't familiar with. I hadn't even considered.
Before we get out of here, the reason why I brought up the Steelers and Miami trade, really, obviously the AFC landscape and what that means, especially with the whole thought process of, are they going to trade TJ Watt? But are the Chiefs done? Like, I'm not just saying like free agency necessarily, but even like cut downs as they get closer to the 53. Oh, that's actually perfect.
Rob, great timing,
as I'm
my
talking,
guy.
that could not have been better. As I'm talking, Rob, do you think Casey is done making moves? I'd like to see another DE or defensive tackle signing. Rob, you and I are on the same wavelength there, man. What do you think? Like, that's what I was getting at is, we're seeing more and more player for player trades.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think we're seeing a lot of guys who grew up playing Madden take over now at GM. I know it sounds silly, but I think there's something at least slightly to that. More transactional. What are your thoughts? Are the Chiefs any, maybe not big names, but do you think we're going to see some veterans come to KC on cut down day? I know we're still far away from that, but still something to keep an eye on?
I do, Sterling, and I'll tell you what I think that move could be right after this breaking news update. From Chiefs.com. Dan Mears will close that chapter of his life this summer, and while the character he so carefully crafted will continue on, there will never be another Dan Mears. So, Dan is retiring. Casey Wolf will have presumably the James Bond, Doctor Who sort of evolution, which I think is great for everybody. And I hope Dan keeps getting a cut or whatever it is that sends him off into retirement the way he so richly deserves. Or Dan could try out to play defensive tackle for the Chiefs, the position I think they could actually use a little bit more help on still. Those Casey Wolf measurables would probably help. I'm with you and with what Rob said. I'm good on defensive end. I'd be actually pretty surprised if the Chiefs added the edge, because already like Felix and Ashton Gelati have like relatively tough paths to playing time. And that's before getting into the Malik Herring kind of level of figuring out who those other rotational pieces might be. But defensive tackle next to Chris Jones, behind Mike Pennell, that's a very, very thin group. I mean, it's a very, very thick group, but the depth chart has names you might not recognize, because Mike Pennell is an older run stuffer who's very useful and is deserving of sticking around. Like, his game has not fallen off as he has aged beyond your average NFL defensive run stuffing defensive tackle. But in part, it hasn't fallen off because you were never asking him to be a real pass rusher, a penetrator next to Jones, right? So behind Pennell, we're talking about Marlon Tuipulotu and Fabian Levette. Those are guys that might be reasonable answers to who the next man up is, but I don't want them to be the only answers. And so I think there's a very, very good chance that when training camp comes around, when cut downs for other teams come by, it's also a position where you could actually sign somebody off the street and have them in the rotation without a full training camp. I think that really hurt, for example, Samaje Perine last year, right? He didn't have a full training camp, and it felt like he was never 100% kind of meshed into the offense. You can be a run-stuffing defensive tackle with, an extra week of prep with Spags and Joe Cullen, and you'll figure it out. So defensive tackle is pretty much the only one of those spots that jumps to mind, certainly barring injury and all of that. There's uncertainty at left guard, but the Chiefs have invested a ton in the interior offensive line in recent years. The whole line has a bunch of pieces on the offensive side. Wide receivers pretty deep. Running back, maybe you see, but again, I think if Elijah Mitchell is healthy, I think he's the guy that's competing with Kareem Hunt. You've got Rashard Smith in the mix. All that to say, I think defensive tackle, kind of a nose tackle type, the one tech, the run stuffer, who's not a Jerry Tillery or a Chris Jones sort of build. That's the one position that I think the Chiefs probably still need to add something at, and probably will add something at before week one.
Yeah, again, I think it depends on what Fabian and Marlon Tuipulotu do. I think running back's interesting, but I don't know if that was a tell because of we never heard about Nick Chubb. Like, Nick Chubb was open, and maybe there's just injuries and age, and You already have Kareem Hunt, maybe as far as your age, and you already have a guy coming off of injury, 2 guys with Pacheco, really, and Elijah Mitchell. So that's just too risky of a proposition. Yeah, I could still see you running back, though, because I don't know if Pacheco, I don't know if anyone's really safe. Like, I would say if the safest person is probably Brashard Smith because of the 7th rounder, and I think of his return ability as far as special teams. Like, I think if you had to, like, rank up, it's probably him, Pacheco, maybe Hunt, Mitchell. But I don't really know if anyone's, like, safe. So I could see a running back being brought in at least for a battle. Maybe a wide receiver 6, but I doubt it because I think Remigio and Tyquan Thornton, they give you enough there, and you're looking for more of a special teamer in that regard.
Right.
Tight end.
This is super in the weeds, but like Tyquan Thornton was here the back half of last season, and if you're talking about a roster cut down thing, like, look, put your money on Tyquan Thornton probably not having a meaningful role in this offense this year, right? He's got to beat the odds to get on the field. But he's got a way better chance spending the last 6 months with the team and all of training camp with the team than whoever they would add at cutdowns. And DeAndre Hopkins, by the end of his time here, was like still not quite fitting with everything else. So I think the incumbents have a pretty good advantage in a lot of these roles.
The one spot that tight end, I think just because if Jared Wiley starts on the PUP list, then you might have a spot open, although I've heard great things about Robert Tonyan, like glowing things so far, which I thought was interesting. And I'm like, okay, that's something to keep an eye on. I still think Brenningstool's making it, and if that's the case, then you have Brenningstool, Gray, and Kelsey to start the season if Wiley's on the PUP list, and if you keep 4, Tonyan's probably your guy, but just in case they wanted to bring in someone, I think it's, again, I'm just trying to squint and see.
Sure.
I do think you glossed over offensive line, guard. Kingsley, but I do wonder if they bring in more of a veteran. I know they have Mike Caliendo brought back, but like, if there's a really good guard out there, a veteran guy, I don't know if the Chiefs are in the position to not take a look. Like, I think that with the unknown still at left tackle, I know we all are high on Josh Simmons and we all are high on Jalen Moore, and at least they have options there. It's still someone new in a system. It's still someone new here in KC. So would they want more of a veteran presence at left guard? Again, it would still be new in KC, but would they trust a veteran more? I don't know. Maybe I'm over analyzing and just trying to really make something of nothing, but I could at least see it's like Josh, Brandon Sheriff. Yeah, my thoughts on Brandon Sheriff. If he's still a free agent, I'm actually pretty surprised by that.
I'd rather have him than Brandon Deputy.
I feel like we should just. That's one where when you do radio, you just point at the producer and they throw to break.
Yeah, here all I could do is take a big gulping sip out of my new Manatee cup that my mom gave us when we were in Florida. Look at these Manatees, huh? We saw them in the wild this time too, for far away, but did see a little Manatees now. No, it's very illegal to touch them, but I didn't, and neither did you last time you talked about touching them.
Does Sky Moore? No, I'm not gonna do it.
Do it. Go ahead. Do it. Go ahead.
If you're a receiver that drops the ball, do they think it's because the ball's a manatee and that it's like illegal to touch him?
That wasn't worth it. You're right.
That wasn't worth it. That was right when I thought about something funny, and I'm like, no, why am I? You know what? I'm happy for Sky Moore, who looks like he's getting back in shape. Like, I'm happy for Sky. I hope he proves us all wrong. I hope Sky Moore looks good this year.
But you said that like a friend of yours who just went through like a really bad breakup and then had like a pretty poor 6 months of self-care following the bad breakup. Maybe developed a little bit of a problem and maybe put on a few pounds. Like, hey, you know what? I'm just glad to see my friend Sky he's getting into shape again. He's gonna put himself back out there. I love that for him.
Hey,
Look, it would be nice to see him have some success at the NFL level for sure.
I like Sky Moore, seemingly the person. He seems like a nice fella, a hard worker, and a guy that the Chiefs value in the clubhouse, in the locker room.
What about the Grim Reaper?
I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, me too.
I'm rooting for both the Grim Reaper and Sky.
I'm very rarely rooting against anyone, which might surprise some people, but There aren't a lot, especially players. Like even when I'm
rooting against Ace Bailey, who was drafted in the NBA.
Why?
He's the guy that was like, "Don't draft me with a top 5 draft pick. I want to go here because I want to be a star." All this stuff,
Okay.
and then the Utah Jazz had the fifth overall, who he didn't want to go to. And like, we don't care. We're gonna draft you. So they drafted him 5th overall. And it sucks because the GM of the Jazz is from Kansas City, and so I root for him for his success.
Sure.
And it's hard because I'm like, Ace Bailey seems like back in my day that wouldn't fly. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think it's because he has the name of 2 dogs?
My dog's name's Bailey.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle have a dog named Ace.
It's actually a cool name, but
it's a great name, but it also is a great name for 2 dogs.
All right, no, you know what? This is a fun thing. Who do you actively root against? So put in the chat. Who do you actively root against? I actually want to know this, and if there's a reason why, like I'm rooting against Ace Bailey because of the whole pre-draft nonsense. It irritated me. I was like, no, you know what? You've even played a game in the NBA, and you're basically just saying to all these veterans that like, no, I'm the guy, and you shall defer to me. Since Rutgers did so good last year.
I want a nervous NBA star who doesn't believe in themselves.
Yeah. Joshua says I'm rooting for Malik Beasley. Or is that against?
You said 4.
You said 4. You said rooting for.
My longtime haterade was reserved for Luka Doncic, and that wasn't his fault. It was the Phoenix Suns' fault.
Is it because you kind of look like him?
No, that should have made me want to root for him. Like I could have had like a whole like lookalike campaign. We're usually in about the same level of physical shape, which is great for me and too bad for him. But no, I mean the Suns took DeAndre Ayton, whose only goal was to get a second contract. He got a second contract, and then now the Trailblazers are like, actually, we don't really want you here either. And so I got to watch the Suns, try to scrape by for a few years, because Robert Sarver wanted to draft a guy who played at Arizona for 1 year instead of the European who ended up going on to be a perennial MVP caliber player. So I'm less bitter about Luka in LA now, honestly, even though I do not care for the Lakers.
Yeah. This was fun. This is a good July 1st episode. Everyone have a safe July 4th. Hopefully you guys are doing something fun. Hopefully you have off. If not, listen to the podcast. That'd be cool too. Yeah. Hopefully you shoot off some fireworks and listen to Lee Greenwood. Do it responsibly. Don't play Lee Greenwood too loud so your neighbors get mad, I guess. And don't shoot off fireworks if your neighbors have dogs at past like 11 p.m. because come on, dogs don't like that.
No, you don't want to wake up Ace and Bailey.
No. But no, honestly, have fun. Have a great July 4th. Be safe. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. We're going to keep you updated all off season long. I know there's not a lot this week, but we'll keep you updated with everything that comes through. It was nice actually talking about the AFC as a landscape as far as the Steelers and what that means. And again, I want everyone to let me know, who do they root against? Let me know. It's a safe space. I mean, they might find out and KD might come and talk smack about you. But that's okay. He can't hurt you. Unless you're on the basketball court with him, then he very much can. Brisco, any final thoughts? Any 4th of July plans?
You know what they call KD? The Slim Reefer.
We're done. We're done, Richard. Throw it.